What does it really mean to look for ways to be generous? How can we take practical steps toward this calling to use our time and our resources in ways that honor God and support our neighbors? The most common answer to those questions in church is something called tithing. How many of you have heard of tithing? So many of y'all over the last 3 weeks have been like, when are you going to tell us that we have to give 10%? Like, that's coming, right? Just like tell me so I can get mentally prepared for it. Because like I know it's coming. Is this a building campaign? Are we doing a building campaign? Is that why you're doing this? Is the church behind? Are we destitute? What's happening? We have been so trained in church that we only talk about money and resources when the church usually needs something. Or maybe once a year just to get that tithe in there, try to catch any new people that haven't signed up for tithing yet. Here's how it usually goes. God has been generous with us, definitely. We are called to be generous in return, absolutely. And that means giving 10% of your income to the church. I don't know. They say if you just check that tithe box, then you're done. You've successfully fulfilled the Christian requirement to be generous. Just check that box. You can probably tell from my general tone and demeanor, I don't find that particular outlook to be helpful. I also don't really find it to be biblical, and let me explain what I mean by that. The idea of tithing originally comes from the Jewish scriptures in the Old Testament. But contrary to popular belief, one tithe was not required. It was 3 tithes. One was a tithe on land and flocks and produce that went to the temple. That's kind of the one we normally think of. 10% of anything that comes in, we give back. But that was only one of them. The second one was an annual tithe that went toward throwing a big party in your town, similar to the grand banquet in the Bible Project video. Everyone was invited. The 10% annually went to support that. And then a third tithe was saved up and collected every 3 years to support what was essentially a food bank for people in poverty in your area. Now, scholars are a little divided on the overlap between these 3 practices, but it's generally agreed that the law, the Old Testament law, required Jewish people to give somewhere between 23 and 30% of their income away. 23 and 30% of their income away. Now, over the centuries, tithing has changed, right? It's been added to, even purposefully distorted. In today's world, it's often used by pastors as a way to just pressure people into giving a certain amount to their church. But I truly believe that tithing, just so we can check off our generosity box, is wrong. And I'm really not trying to be controversial. It would be way easier for me to just sit up here and say, just tithe, check the box. God requires you to do it. If you give your 10%, you're good. If you don't, you're sinning. That would be so much easier for me. But what I've tried to do throughout this series, and honestly, every single Sunday I come up here and talk with you, is to open the Bible with you all and try to understand what the Scripture is teaching in context and then apply it to our modern lives. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to do it with this. So in that vein, let me show you something. Here is how the New Testament instructs a Christian to give. It's a little how to give chart. Generously, regularly, and systematically, proportionately, sacrificially, willingly, voluntarily, cheerfully, eagerly, enthusiastically, strategically, and diligently.